thwarting an alleged terror attack. A father and son facing serious charges after the RCMP say the two were planning a violent attack in Toronto. We have the latest coming up tonight.
Human remains found in a bin as police continued their search for a 57-year-old woman who they believe was kidnapped.
And cycling for change. A memorial bike ride is being held tonight in honor of a 24-year-old woman who was struck and killed last week.
This is Live at 5. Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Lena Latifat. Thank you for joining us here on Live at 5. We begin with this. A father and son are facing terrorism charges in connection with an alleged plot to carry out an attack in Toronto.
The RCMP held a news conference today at their detachment in Newmarket to provide an update on the investigation. They say that the pair were arrested at a hotel in Richmond Hill on the weekend, and they were in the advanced stages of planning a serious violent attack in Toronto. The RCMP are alleging that the father and son knowingly facilitated terrorist activity in the GTA.
62-year-old Ahmed Eldidi and 27-year-old Mostafa Eldidi facing terrorism-related charges, as well as conspiracy to commit murder and weapon possession for a dangerous purpose. The father is also charged with aggravated assault. Here's more from investigators.
This wasn't a cat and mouse monitoring type situation. We wouldn't obviously put the public in jeopardy that way. So as soon as we knew that there, and again, it's misleading to use the word imminent, but apparent and forthcoming might be the best way to say it. Because this attack, we believe, was in its advanced stages, it was time to act and obviously intercede.
Right now, let's bring in CP24's Beatrice Vaisman, who was at today's news conference.
Yeah, she's back in the newsroom tonight with more, and you're standing by with some incredible video, Beatrice.
It's exclusive video to CP24, Lena and Bakari. I spent the afternoon in the Scarborough community, the neighborhood where the accused lived. I'm told the father and son, the 62-year-old and 26-year-old, lived there along with the matriarch of the family and another son, also in his mid-20s, according to neighbors. Let's share that video right now with our viewers. It was shared with us by one of the neighbors there, and it shows this white van. This is believed to be an RCMP vehicle arriving there on that street. It's late Sunday night. I'm told by neighbors around 11 o'clock. You see their officers, these are tactical officers, getting out of that van and approaching this home in Scarborough where the two accused live. Keep in mind, as we mentioned, this is not where they were arrested, but where they lived with their family. This van reverses, and our viewers are going to see a flash on their screen momentarily. That flash indicates the flashbang or flash grenade. There it was as police made entry into the home. Neighbors that I talked to on that street telling me they were woken up by that incredibly loud sound. And then a few minutes later, and you'll see it as well, there's officers arriving on scene with lights and sirens as well to bolster up the police presence on that street. The neighbors that I've been talking to, Lena and Bakari, they're absolutely dismayed by these allegations, incredibly serious allegations. The home where we attended this afternoon also shows the evidence of this police raid from Sunday night. And I'll show you the video that we captured of the home today, the family home. I did approach the front door. I knocked on it. Someone did come to the door. They kind of spread the drape that's covering the window at the front door, but they did not actually open the door, nor did they say anything to me when I asked them what they made of these allegations, if they wanted to share their side of the story. No one actually opened that door, but this is the family home, again, where these two accused lives. As for the neighbors, they tell me very little interaction with this family. I'm told by several different neighbors on that street that this family just moved to this neighborhood about a year and a half ago, that they did not have very many interactions with them. I'm told the two sons would play loud music, hang out on the driveway, wash vehicles. The mother was observed by one of the other neighbors just working on her garden. But again, no pleasantries, no words exchanged. The one neighbor there telling me that when he tried to talk to the family or say hello, they either looked away or one said no English to this neighbor as well. I want to share with you some of the clips, the conversations that I had with some of the neighbors on that street today as they're digesting the news that two of their neighbors are now accused of terrorism-related charges by the RCMP. Listen.
I would see the boys outside playing the music loud, washing their cars, But if I see them now, I would not be able to recognize their face because I would see from here when I'm outside. I've seen the mom once. She was doing her garden. She didn't look up at me. I said hi, but she didn't look up at me. And I know, some people, they're not very whatever. I've never seen the father. I am always outside, and you see this is a very quiet street. And I have to be careful. I have 2 grandsons also, and they're always outside when they're at home. You don't know what can happen.
And I think as neighbors, we also feel bad that we don't know what was going on in our own neighborhood. Just tells us that we probably should pay a little bit more interest in our neighbors, for good and bad. And to think that they're planning something like this, that really hurts, that something like that happened in our neighborhood.
And part of the allegations, of course, this connection with ISIS, that last gentleman you heard from, I mean, he really expressed, Lena and Bakari, almost like a sense of guilt that neighbors and community members didn't know what was alleged to have been happening in that home on their street. They almost feel this sense of burden that they couldn't do more to protect the greater public. I thought that was really interesting. As for the accused, as father and son, they've made a court appearance on Monday. They'll be making another court appearance first thing tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. in Newmarket. And again, none of these allegations are proven in court. Back to you.
Okay, CP24's Beatrice Vaisman. Well, police say that they found human remains in an area where they were searching for a missing Markham woman.
Investigators have been looking in Kirkfield in the Kawartha Lakes area for 57-year-old Ying Zhang. She was last seen on Thursday morning in the area of Woodbine Avenue and Steelcase Road near Steeles. Police say the remains were found yesterday evening in an area that was being combed by search and rescue crews, and that the remains were also found in a green garbage bin.
They were continuing a ground search for missing person Ying Zhang. While in the area of Palestine Road and Fennel Road, the search and rescue team did locate the remains of a human. At this time, we're still waiting for identification from the Office of the Chief Coroner to make a determination of who this person is. We're still appealing to any witnesses as the investigation is still ongoing.
Zhang worked at a wellness center at a commercial plaza in the area. That's where she was last seen. Police say 26-year-old Changlin Yang was also seen in the area in a white Ford van at the time of Zhang's disappearance. He's already been charged with kidnapping, forcible confinement, and aggravated assault.
It's 5:07 now, 30 degrees. Let's check on the evening commute with CP24's traffic specialist, Adjoa and Siayevwa. How goes that drive?
Ooh, very slow, Lena. We are dealing with some brand new problems. Just watch them pop up. This is on the 401 westbound, just past Dixon Martin Grove. It is a collision involving a transport. Does have the left lane blocked, so a very, very slow drive from well before the Don Valley Parkway. And then if you're on the Gardner, still watching issues. This is the eastbound lanes of the Gardner on the approach to Jameson. So that overheated vehicle that does have the left lane occupied, trying to get out of the downtown core. We still have problems, which might have cleared. So some good news. Westbound on the Gardner, just past Medina, we had some problems. There was a stall in the left lane. Outside of camera view, just be aware. We're dealing with problems on the 407 eastbound on the approach to Fine Valley. Collision in the left lane. And Queen is still closed between Jarvis and Mutual following a serious collision. I'll send it back to you.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
All right, so Canada versus Colombia has just wrapped up in Paris, and I think there's some good news.
I think so, too. Let's go live to CP24's Phil Perkins, who's with fans at Elephant and Castle on King Street. Can you confirm good news, Phil?
I can confirm. I could also confirm it's not in Paris. It was in Nice, France. So it is nice news. Very nice news for someone who didn't know what Nice, France was and how it's pronounced. Very great news for Team Canada. So let's go through the facts right now. So Team Canada, before or in the middle of their group stage matches, they get deducted 6 points because of the drone scandal. So they're at -6. They then go on to beat New Zealand, beat France, who is the number 2 overall ranked team in the world. And then now they just won their 3rd straight group match 1-0 against Colombia. Vanessa Gilles, who plays for Lyon in Ligue 1, scoring the header off a free kick in the 60th minute. So now Canada advancing to the knockout stages due to goal differential, but they had to get that win first. And I'm here joined by the Voyagers, who are kind of the official, unofficial Canada soccer footy fans. This guy's turning his back to me. I don't know, maybe that's a celebration. That's fine. Oh, he's paying his bill. You gotta do that. Canadians do that. Okay, so watching this match, knowing everything that this team has gone through, and they had to win. There's no ties here, even though there are ties in footy. They could not survive with the tie. How do you feel right now?
I feel great. It was exciting. It was a great match, and just like to see the girls step up and represent Canada. It was awesome.
So proud of them up against such adversity.
Adversity. I mess it up. I mess it up too.
Adversity. It's really good to see them. I know that their honor and they were fighting for themselves, and it's so good to see it. Who knows what happened, but I'm really proud of them.
The goal was amazing. That was awesome. That goal was fantastic.
Well, Gilles has now scored 2 game winners, one against France of all teams.
She's killing it.
She was the one who said her honor was up for debate, so it's really good for her, really happy for her, and now we go to knockout stages.
Right. Knockout stages where it's a clean slate. There's no point deductions in knockout stage. Sir, how do you feel watching this match?
Well, I'm trying to hold back a lot of emotion right now because I'm feeling a huge mix of them. You know, joy, elation, and also just feeling bad for the players that they had to go through all this unnecessary nonsense. I say nonsense because, yeah, the punishment's deserved, but for them to receive a 6-point deduction is just unfair. But let me just say this. If you want to show the world what it means to be Canadian, I think these girls showed it for sure. They've definitely showed what unity and strength and determination we have. And if you want to tell anyone what being a Canadian is, that's it. Yeah. No one else is as unified of a group as they are in that whole country. And I hope they go really far. If they can get a medal, I'm sure some of us will be celebrating out in the streets. Yeah. I definitely will be out there, though, for sure.
I was telling someone else with the Voyager saying it's almost like they're playing a game of horse. It's like, hey, you won a gold medal, now do it with a 6-point deduction, now try that again. But that was a great speech. Send this guy to France for a pregame talk. Also, who's going to finish that wing? Someone needs to eat that. There's one. Someone needs to eat that. It's bad form, sir. We'll talk to you later if you feel like. Okay, so Canada, they win 1-0 against Colombia. They're moving on to the knockout stage against all odds. Can't wait to see who they match up against. It's going to be a lot of fun. Send it back to you guys.
Okay, CP24's Phil Perkins live at Elephant and Castle. He said it, against all odds.
All right, thanks so much for this, Phil. It is 5:12, 31 degrees, and keeping cool. That's going to be a challenge over the next couple of days. A heat warning is in effect for Toronto, issued by Environment Canada. It feels closer to 40 with the Humidex. Right now, it's feeling like 38. So, yeah, it's sticky. There's going to be very little relief from the muggy conditions overnight as well, with lows of 20 to 22 degrees expected. Hopefully, you've got that air conditioning running or maybe a fan. The agency says a cooler air mass may arrive tomorrow night.
It's 5:12, 31 degrees. This is Live at 5. And coming up, a mother speaking out after she says that her son was shot by police while experiencing a mental health crisis. A memorial bike ride is being held tonight in honor of a 24-year-old woman who was hit and killed while biking on Bloor Avenue last week.
And for more on this, let's go live to CP24's Lindsay Biscaya. A number of cyclists getting together tonight, Lindsay, and they all have similar concerns.
Yeah, and the concerns, Lena and Bakari, are really about the safety of cyclists in Toronto. It's not a new concern, but it's one that obviously keeps growing. And with more fatalities this year than there has been the past 3 years, that fear really is validated, especially after what happened last week. We're talking about that incident you mentioned off the top, where that 24-year-old woman was riding on Bloor Street last Thursday morning in a bike lane. For some reason, she exited the bike lane, went into the normal lane of traffic, and that's when she was struck by that dump truck. The dump truck driver remained on scene. She was struck and died at the scene. And at this point, police are continuing to investigate, specifically also why this cyclist got out of the bike lane in the first place. There's some speculation that possibly because there was a construction bin in the bike lane obstructing it, there is some speculation that possibly she had to get around it, and that's when she was struck by the truck. Police say that is still under investigation. They will be looking into that, but many cyclists and advocates in this city say it would not be surprising if that was the reason. They say a lot of bike lanes around here, when there are bike lanes in our city streets, a lot of them are obstructed, and so, you know, people are calling for safety on the streets for a lot of cyclists, so more people can start to use that as a form of transportation. And that's really what this memorial is going to be all about here. I'm being told cyclists will gather here at this park, Matt Cohen Park, at around 6, and then they will start riding at 6:30, all in a kind of vigil of sorts for this young woman who was tragically struck and killed last week. Also asking for the city to do more, particularly with construction sites, so that they're not obstructing bike lanes either. We know that the city has put in higher fines for people who park in bike lanes, who obstruct bike lanes, from $60 to $200. But many say that's great if it's being enforced, but they're not seeing enough enforcement. So it's obviously a conversation that is continuing, but also after such a tragedy last week, a lot of people feeling incredibly sad about what happened and also feeling we need to do something about this now. Bakari, Lena?
All right, Lindsay Biscaya reporting live. Thanks so much for this, Lindsay. A mother is voicing concerns after she says her son was shot and injured by police while he was experiencing a mental health crisis.
When it first happened, they called me like 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was devastating. It was Anishinaabe Nami Res who called me, and when they called, they said, your son has been shot by police. He's at ICU at St. Michael's. And I just, felt like I couldn't breathe. I was crying. I was hysterical. My other son had to take the phone. I couldn't talk. I was in shock.
Toronto police were called to the area of Carleton and Parliament on July 23rd for reports of a man armed with a knife. According to the SIU, when police arrived, officers became involved in an interaction with a 32-year-old man. The man was shot by police and taken to hospital for his injuries. Cheryl Maxey says her son, Tyler Kaur, was the man shot by police. Maxey wants the police to drop the charges against her son, which include assaulting a peace officer with a weapon.
Well, police are trying to track down a suspect who set a fire at a North York synagogue. Signs outside the Khaliyat Sharet Torah synagogue in the Bayview and Five Shire Road area were burned just before 3 o'clock in the morning today. The building itself wasn't damaged, and police say that they're treating the incident as a suspected hate crime. The synagogue's executive director says that this is the fourth incident of vandalism there in as many months.
I think, honestly, just the mentality of the city needs to change. It's been allowed to be okay that anti-Semitism is accepted. It's because it hasn't affected anyone. Well, now it's starting to affect the community. And when I talk to other members, not just of our synagogue, but around the Jewish community, the thought is it going to take someone to get killed before this is taken seriously.
Investigators have released these images of the person they're looking for. Police say the same suspect is also wanted for lighting a sign on fire in front of a Jewish school in the Avenue Road and Wilson Avenue area about 30 minutes after the incident at the synagogue. Anybody with information is asked to call police or Crime Stoppers.
Well, Premier Doug Ford has released a statement that reads in part, quote, "The recent acts of arson and vandalism directed against Toronto's Jewish community are deeply disturbing and unacceptable. I'm pleased to see the Toronto Police Service is taking these acts seriously and is working to identify the people responsible. Let's come together in support of our Jewish friends and neighbors as we stand against anti-Semitism and hate."
It is 5:19, 31 degrees. This is Live at 5. Ontario is ending its COVID-19 wastewater testing. We'll have reaction from the medical community coming up. Welcome back. Ontario is officially ending its COVID-19 wastewater surveillance program today.
Yeah, the province says that the decision was made after the federal government elected to expand their own testing across the province. There are already 4 testing sites in Toronto run by the Public Health Agency of Canada. Plus, they're adding 4 other areas across Ontario. Some experts say that the move's disappointing because testing can also catch other potential threats, including the possible arrival of H5N1 avian flu. Well, Ontario Health Minister Sylvia Jones says that the province is ending its wastewater testing program to avoid duplication.
We have returned to what has been in place in Ontario for decades, and that is a federal government that assesses the wastewater and works with our public health units and with our clinicians to make sure that as that information comes in, it is disseminated to public health units across Ontario.
And Dr. Fahad Razak, an internist at St. Michael's Hospital, says he's disappointed the province is ending its wastewater surveillance program to track COVID-19.
You can look outside today in the middle of summer 2024, it's sweltering hot, and you think, what do I need this for? But Think back to 2 years ago when it was allowing us to get an insight into where spread was happening for this new virus, for SARS-CoV-2. The anticipation of many scientists is that in the future, going forward, we're going to see more occurrences like what we just had these last 4 years, new viruses, and there the ability to detect and monitor spread again becomes very useful. So it has a range of purposes: real-time decision-making and planning, individual ability to assess risk in your community, but also the ability to surveil for future threats.
Wastewater testing sites covered almost 3/4 of Ontario's population last year and also included targeted monitoring of COVID-19 levels in high-risk places.
Well, one of the city's largest hospitals is marking a milestone in its efforts to expand and upgrade the facility.
Mount Sinai's redevelopment project now complete. More than 323,000 square feet of space was renovated. It was the largest redevelopment in the hospital's history. The province invested $383 million to support the work. The Ford government says the new and expanded spaces will improve care for patients who need life-saving surgery, emergency care, and those with cancer.
These renovated and new spaces include expanded and redesigned facilities, such as the emergency department, ambulatory oncology programs, and operating rooms, with the addition of 2 new ORs. Our investment has also expanded the intensive care unit and medical and surgical inpatient areas, adding a total of 63 new beds.
Mount Sinai says the expansion and modernization project will allow it to provide state-of-the-art services that'll serve communities today and into the future.
Right now it's 5:24, 31 degrees. This is Live at 5. Well, hundreds of people showed up for a CNE job fair. We're going to hear from some of the potential job seekers next.
Welcome back. The CNE hosted its annual job fair today as the unofficial end of summer celebration gets ready to return next month.
And of course, there were long lines of job seekers at the event, which was at the Intercare Center at Exhibition Place. The CNE is looking to fill thousands of positions, but it says that it's already received more than 37,000 online applications, which, by the way, that's the largest in the fair's history. And the CNE is also one of the largest employers of youth in Canada, with more than 80% of its staff being between the ages of 14 and 29.
This is a mixed blessing. It's great to see that people are really excited about working at the CNE, but it's a really sad commentary on youth unemployment when you've got over 37,000 applications. That says that people are struggling.
I'm here for job opportunities. It's really hard to get a job as a teen. That's why I'm here.
I've never had a job before, and it's very hard to get one too. Mainly for experience, but also for the money.
And the X opens on August 16th.
Right now it's 5:28, 31 degrees, feeling like 36 outside. This is Live at 5. Human remains found in a bin. This as police continued their search for a 57-year-old woman who they believe was kidnapped. Thwarting an alleged terror attack, a father and son facing serious charges after the RCMP say that the two were planning a violent attack in Toronto.
Human remains found in a bin as police continue their search for a 57-year-old woman who they believe was kidnapped.
And cycling for a change, a memorial bike ride is being held tonight in honor of a 24-year-old woman who was hit and killed last week.
This is Live at 5. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Lena Latifat.
Now, Bakari Savage. Canada versus Colombia has wrapped up. This at the Paris Games, just outside of Paris, in Nice.
Yeah, let's go live to CP24's Phil Perkins, who's with fans at Elephant and Castle on King Street. Tell us about that fan reaction, Phil.
Well, Lena, Bakari, I can tell you right now that not only did Canada win, they beat Colombia at 1-0. We now know who they're going to be playing in the quarterfinals. It's going to be Germany in Paris on Saturday. And so we ran into the Voyagers. That's like the Team Canada footy official, unofficial fan club. And they were feverishly looking on their phones trying to book flights to Paris. But alas, too expensive. As the French would say, c'est la vie. It happens. But this is what happened on the pitch in Nice. Beautiful views in Nice, but this was more beautiful goal. Canada winning 1-0. Vanessa Gilles, who plays in France professionally for Lyon, she scored a header off a free kick in the 60th minute. Canada then held on for the rest of the game, an extra 40 minutes, just under 40 minutes to wrap the game up and advance to the knockout stage. Despite all the odds, despite the 6-point deduction due to the drone scandal, they somehow made it to the knockout stage. We're joined by this fan here. I don't like saying Canada fan. You're Canadian. You cheer for Canada. Watching this match, what were you going through in the last 40 minutes or so when Canada up 1-0?
Oh, it was super nerve-wracking. I was very nervous. I couldn't eat my food, and just a little stressed. A little bit stressed there.
And so from going from the point deduction to get to this point, what does this say about this team's quality in terms of not just their skills, but their heart?
Yeah, I mean, this is a super resilient team. They're a close-knit team. They're going to fight for each other, and they are a technically quality team. I mean, they've beaten some really good opponents here, and just like so amazed. Not surprised though. Yeah,
defending gold medals for a reason. I was telling someone it's almost like they're playing horse. It's like, hey, you won a gold medal, now do it with, minus 6 points. But they did beat France, number 2 team in the world. Now they're up against Germany on Saturday in the quarters. What little preview there? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a better draw than Spain. So I do feel hopeful. I think we can take it to the Germans. I think the last time we played Germany, we beat them 1-0. So bring it on, Germany. Let's go. We're on a roll here.
Yeah, keep it going. Yeah, in my books, Canada won the group with 9 points, guys. I know they had the 6-point deduction, but they had to win this game. They did it. They advance on a goal differential, and now taking on the Germans on Saturday. It's going to be a great time. Send it back to you.
Okay, CP24 is Phil Perkins live at Elephant and Castle. And Phil, I hope you finished that last wing.
Yeah, have that chicken wing for us.
Someone else took it. I did
not the chicken wing.
It was there for a while. All
right, maybe it's for the best then. Phil Perkins, thanks so much. Oh, Canada moved on to the quarterfinals despite having been docked 6 points by FIFA because of that drone spying scandal we've been telling you about.
Yeah, earlier today, Canada lost its appeal of the 6-point penalty that was imposed on the Olympic women's soccer team. The Canadian Olympic Committee and Canada Soccer had argued that FIFA's decision was disproportionate and unfairly punishes the players when there's no suggestion that they were involved. The punishment was handed down by FIFA after a team analyst was caught using a drone to spy on New Zealand's practices before the start of competition.
And Canada picked up another medal in the pool at the Paris Olympics today.
Yeah, Montreal's Ilya Haroun took bronze in the men's 200-meter butterfly. The 19-year-old finished the race in a Canadian record time of 1 minute 52.8 seconds. He is the first Canadian man to win an Olympic medal in swimming since the 2012 London Games. He's also set to compete in the 100-meter butterfly Friday.
All right, let's shift gears here. Sitting at 31, feeling closer to 40 out there tonight. Keeping cool. That's going to be a challenge over the next couple of days, though it is raining in the downtown core. That might help us cool down by just a bit. Heat warning, though, still in effect for Toronto, issued by Environment Canada. It feels closer to 40 with the Humidex, and there's going to be little relief from the muggy conditions tonight, with overnight lows of 20 to 22 degrees expected. The agency says a cooler air mass may arrive tomorrow night. Well, what does that drive look like? Let's get a check on that with Adjoa and Cia Bois.
Well, yeah, we're dealing with heat and rain and a little bit of rain in the downtown core, Lena, and slowdowns and a lot of problems. This is a brand new situation. I just checked on a camera and then I'm seeing this. So this is the westbound Gardner just past York Bay Yonge through a little bit of light rain. It looks like it's a collision. Does have that left lane blocked, so a tough go as you make your way out of the downtown core. Then trying to come into the downtown core, we're dealing with a couple of issues. Long-standing problems on the Gardner eastbound, on the approach to Jameson. Overheated vehicle is in the left lane, and then further east on the Gardner past Jameson, stalled vehicle does have the right lane occupied. Jammed on the Don Valley Parkway north and southbound between Bayview Bloor and the 401, but haven't spotted any issues. And we did have problems on the 401 westbound at Dixon Martin Grove. It was a collision. It was in the left lane. Situation cleared. A heads up if you're headed towards Queens. Still getting word that it's closed in either direction between Jarvis and Mutual following a serious collision. Lena Bakari, I'll send it back to you.
Okay. Thanks, Aj. Well, police said that they found human remains in an area where they had been searching for a missing Markham woman.
Investigators have been looking in Kirkfield in the Kawartha Lakes area for 57-year-old Ying Zheng. She was last seen on Thursday morning in the area of Woodbine Avenue and Steelcase Road near Steeles. Police say the remains were found yesterday inside a green garbage bin in the area that was being combed by search and rescue crews.
At this time, we're still waiting for confirmation from the Center for Forensic Science and the Office of the Chief Coroner in order to determine who these remains belong to.
Okay, Zhang worked at a wellness center at a commercial plaza in the area. That's where she was last seen. And police say that 26-year-old Changlin Yang was also seen in the area in a white Ford van at the time of Zhang's disappearance. He's already been charged with kidnapping, forcible confinement, and aggravated assault.
A father and son are facing terrorism charges in connection with an alleged plot to carry out an attack in Toronto.
The RCMP held a news conference today at their detachment in Newmarket to provide an update on the investigation. They say that the pair were arrested at a hotel in Richmond Hill on the weekend, and they were in the advanced stages of planning a serious violent attack in Toronto. The RCMP are alleging that the father and son knowingly facilitated terrorist activity in the GTA.
62-year-old Ahmed Eldidi and 26-year-old Mostafa Eldidi facing terrorism-related charges, as well as conspiracy to commit murder and weapon possession for a dangerous purpose. The father is also charged with aggravated assault.
They were charged with having particular weapons. In other words, we're pretty confident how close they were to moving from simply having those tools and then moving on to actioning that threat. And so I couldn't tell you 6 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. But once again, what I'll say is because of the swift nature of all of law enforcement, our partner agencies on this, we were able to halt that threat. But we believe it was quite, not only like, I don't want to say imminent as, again, it's within an hour or two, but it was close.
And let's bring in CP24's Beatrice Faisman, who was at today's news conference. She was also speaking with shocked neighbors earlier today, and she's back in the newsroom with the latest tonight. Beatrice.
Lena, obviously a sense of overwhelming shock in that Scarborough community where the accused lived with other members of their family. The neighbors that I've been talking to simply couldn't believe it, that this alleged plot was happening or being potentially planned on their street. I want to share with you some exclusive video that was shared with CP24 by one of the neighbors in that Scarborough community. It shows the white RCMP van arriving, tactical officers. There they are, getting out of the van in their gear, approaching the family home in Scarborough, again, where the accused lived with two other family members, I'm told, a mother, the matriarch of the family, and another adult son. You'll see our flash on the screen coming up in just a few seconds once this van finishes essentially reversing to the end of the driveway of this family home. The flash indicates the flashbang or the flash grenade, there it was, that police used to gain entry into the home. For timeline, it actually seems, based on a few videos that I've now observed, that this raid in Scarborough happened after the accused were arrested in that Richmond Hill hotel. The timestamp on this video that was, again, obtained by CP24 from a neighbor shows 12:14 a.m. on July 29th. The RCMP told us the accused were arrested on the 28th. So just a few hours later, this raid happened. As for damage to the home, we were there today. We saw it firsthand. I walked right up to the front door of the family home in Scarborough. And you can see just above the door handle there, the markings that show where this forced entry happened under another windowsill. I could also see what almost looked like evidence of fire, likely from that flashbang that happened. The windows also now covered by what looks like a black garbage bag. I approached the door, identified myself as a reporter with CP24. Someone did come to the door. I could see the drapes in front of the door moving. I asked them if they wanted an opportunity to speak, to address the allegations about this 62-year-old father and 26-year-old son. I couldn't see who the person was on the other side of that door, but nobody opened the door. No one answered any of my questions through the door either, Lena and Bakari. As for neighbors that I've been talking to, they told me a bit more information about this family. They tell CP24 that this family, who are tenants of this home, they're not the owners, they're the tenants. They moved there about a year and a half ago. Very little interactions with other neighbors. I'm told the two adult sons were often seen washing their vehicles on the driveway, that they even ran a car detailing business out of the garage as well. As for the parents, one of the neighbors told me he'd never seen the father before. Another one of the neighbors told me that she often is outside. She once saw the mother working on the garden. She said hello. The mother didn't even acknowledge her presence. Another neighbor telling me also when he tried to interact, he was simply told no English. And so I wasn't actually able to find anyone on that Scarborough Street, Lena and Bakari, who'd had conversations with this family, which now includes these two accused, a father and son, who are accused of some very serious allegations and charges by the RCMP, terrorism-related offenses and links to ISIS. Here's what we heard from some of the neighbors this afternoon.
But to find out that it was related to a terrorism charge and that too connected with ISIS was really, really terrible for us to know that, and to know that it happened in our neighborhood. Some reason we all feel guilty part of that. I don't know why, but to know that we didn't know that something like that was happening in our neighborhood, I also feel bad that.
We heard a bang on Sunday night, I believe. It was around 10:30 in the night. So my son came out. I didn't come. I thought it was, something. But anyway, the next day I heard there was some commotion going on there, So I asked him, and he says, the RCMP was there and whatever. So I didn't pay too much attention until yesterday and the day before. They were there all day.
So police actually spent almost 48 hours at that home in Scarborough, Lena and Bakari. I'm told officers just left yesterday evening. Again, they got there overnight, Sunday into Monday. So almost 48 hours they were there at the scene gathering evidence. I should say that none of these allegations have been proven in court. The father and son did make their first court appearance on Monday. They're scheduled for another court appearance first thing tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. in Newmarket to answer to these allegations. Back to you.
Beatrice Faisman, live in our newsroom tonight. Thank you, Beatrice. It's 5:43, 31 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
And coming up, a memorial bike ride's being held this evening for a cyclist killed while biking on Bloor.
Welcome back. A mother is voicing concerns after she says her son was shot and injured by police while he was experiencing a mental health crisis.
It's very, very hard. That's something a mother wants to wake up to, is your child has been shot by the police. Nobody wants to wake up to that kind of news. One day he's meeting the mayor and then 2 days later he's getting shot, So I just wish they would handle mental health more cautious and more understanding, more compassionate to the mental health people, because I have mental health too, and I've struggled with that all my life, and every day, but I'm here, I'm here for my children. I continue to heal for my children and for my family.
Toronto police were called to the area of Carlton and Parliament. This is July 23rd for reports of a man armed with a knife. And according to the SIU, when police got there, officers became involved in an interaction with the 32-year-old man. The man was shot by police and taken to hospital for his injuries. Cheryl Maxey says that her son, Tyler, was the man shot by police. Maxey wants the police to drop the charges against her son, which include assaulting a peace officer with a weapon.
A memorial bike ride is being held tonight in honor of a 24-year-old woman who was struck and killed while biking on Bloor near Avenue. It happened last week.
Right now, let's go live to CP24's Lindsay Biscaya. Lindsay.
As soon as the live hit?
Yeah, and Bakari, Lena, we are here at Markham Park where this ride is just about to get underway, as you mentioned, after that tragedy that happened last week where that 24-year-old woman was biking on Bloor in a bike lane, moved out of the bike lane and was struck by a dump truck. She was pronounced dead on scene. The dump truck driver did stay on the scene, but police now investigating why she left the bike lane in the first place. And a lot of advocates, cyclists are saying that, it was probably because there was an obstruction in the bike lane. We know that there was a construction bin that was in the bike lane. Police say that is part of their investigation. They're still looking into whether that is in fact why she left the bike lane. But this is a larger conversation as well about safety. So when we're talking about this bike tonight, I'm joined by Joey Schwartz, co-organizer of this bike tonight. Joey, thanks for speaking with us. Can you just tell me what exactly is going to be happening here at 6:30?
So at 6:30, a group of us will be cycling eastbound along Bloor. We'll be stopping at Avenue Road. We'll be stopping there for a few minutes. Then we'll install a white ghost bike. We'll have a quick ceremony, moment of silence, and then, just reminisce about it.
And having a conversation as well. I mean, this is an absolute tragedy. It is the 5th cyclist who was killed this year in 2024. That's more than the last 3 years combined. What does that tell you about, you're a cyclist in the city. How do you feel?
Well, for me, I feel fairly safe. It's not about me. It's about anyone who has to use bike infrastructure, which is supposed to be safe. And in this case, it clearly wasn't, because an illegal dump, and that dumpster is illegal. The Toronto Star did figure out that they did not have a permit. So that wasn't supposed to be there. And that was the most obvious reason why that cyclist had to leave. And what was a relatively safe bike lane.
Is there anything specific you would like to see done to make things safer?
Yes, more enforcement, bylaw enforcement. Get bylaw officers out there all the time, making sure that construction companies aren't dumping all kinds of stuff into bike lanes. Quite often it's being used as a parking space for cement trucks. It's being used for a space to park metal rods and so forth for construction. Meanwhile, the cyclists aren't given a safe path away from that, so they have to then force their way back into traffic, which, of course, as you saw the results of last week, is not pretty.
Yeah, a tragedy for sure. Joey, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much. So there you go, Lena and Bakari. And of course, when we're talking about enforcement, we know that the city has upped fines for people who obstruct bike lanes from $60 to $200. But as you've heard a lot of cyclists saying, that's great, but if it's not enforced, it doesn't really solve the problem. So a large turnout here. That bike is going to be happening in just about 40 minutes. Still everyone just turning up here. But obviously, a memorial as well, remembering that 24-year-old woman who was struck and tragically killed just last week. Back to you.
All right, Lindsay Biscaya reporting live tonight. Thank you, Lindsay. It's now 5:50, 31 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
Ontario is ending its COVID-19 wastewater testing. We're going to have a reaction from the medical community coming up. Ontario is officially ending its COVID-19 wastewater surveillance program today.
The province says the decision was made after the federal government elected to expand its own testing across the province. There are already 4 testing sites in Toronto run by the Public Health Agency of Canada. Plus, they're adding 4 other areas across Ontario. Some experts say the move is disappointing because testing can also catch other potential threats, including the possible arrival of H5N1 avian flu. And Dr. Fahad Razak, an internist at St. Michael's Hospital, says he's disappointed the province is ending its wastewater surveillance program to track COVID.
The idea is surveillance technologies just help to blunt that. They're not going to prevent a virus from spreading, but it's blunting the impact of that virus, gaining that insight, advanced knowledge about what's happening. The cost of these programs, of course, it costs money to operate. But if you think about the wastewater program over the last 4 years, some of the estimates were something in the range of $1 per person in Ontario per year. So roughly $15 million per year to operate a program like this. That has to be weighed against, again, future benefits. So many reports, including reports that I've contributed to, have suggested that some basic level of passive surveillance, you don't need people to go to a testing center, but this ability to test the wastewater signal without anyone having to do anything differently is part of creating a robust safety net for the country.
Wastewater testing sites covered almost 3/4 of Ontario's population last year and also included targeted monitoring of COVID-19 levels in high-risk places.
It's 5:54, 31 degrees. This is Live at 5. And coming up, Parks Canada's warning visitors who want to visit popular parks this long weekend.
Well, this just into CP24. A man has been rushed to hospital after a stabbing downtown.
Yeah, this happened just before 4:45 this afternoon in the Yonge and Dundas area. A man in his 20s was taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries. And police say that a 28-year-old man was arrested after the incident. So the motive behind the stabbing, that's unknown. And police, they're asking anyone with information to come forward.
Yeah, and these are live images coming to us from Chopper 24. Again, if you're just joining us, a man is in life-threatening condition after a stabbing near Yonge and Dundas. Keep it here on CP24 as we learn more about this investigation.
Well, Parks Canada is warning potential visitors to popular lakeside areas that they're going to likely need a reservation over the long weekend.
According to Parks Canada, during this year's Canada Day long weekend, more than 2,000 cars arrived without reservations, and they were turned away. All parking and campsite reservations at Bruce Peninsula National Park for the long weekend are full. Visitors will only have access to the Grotto, Halfway, Log Dump, or Cypress Lake trails with a confirmed parking or camping reservation.
Well, the CNE hosted its annual job fair today as the unofficial end of summer celebration is getting ready to return next month.
There were long lines of job seekers at the event at the EnterCare Center at Exhibition Place. The CNE looking to fill thousands of positions. It says it's already received more than 37,000 online applications, which is the largest in the fair's history. The X opens on August 16th. Always a bittersweet time. I mean, the X is so much fun, but you also know it's a sign that the summer is coming to an end.
Yeah.
You're watching Toronto's Breaking News, CP24.
And thank you for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.